Welcome to Inspired Artist Podcast with me, Porter Singer. In this episode, we're going to be exploring the topic of abandonment. This is a really interesting one and something that I had a realization about after my conversation with Nina Mongendre and EdieArt, who created the Inner Child and Beyond Oracle deck that I based my newest song, Never Alone, on, that I did with Songs of Eden. The realization that I had was that when we are in these experiences, perhaps in childhood, or as Nina talks about, perhaps at any period in our life, when we're triggered in the same way, or those beliefs that we developed as a child are coming to the surface again for us to examine, what I realized was that when I felt abandoned, I have also abandoned myself. I think the reason that came up, besides just the conversation, was that I had been reading Byron Katie's first book a few weeks ago, and her process involves looking at a belief that we hold, and then at the end of it, once you've worked through it and realized that you can't absolutely know that it's true, you turn it around and flip it on yourself and see if you feel that it could be equally as true, if not more true, when you do that. So, for example, I am upset with so-and-so for abandoning me in this particular moment, and then you would describe it. You would turn it around at the end and say, I am angry with myself for abandoning me. And I thought this was a really interesting concept when we're talking about inner child work, when we're talking about looking at our beliefs, because in those moments when someone abandons us, what we make it mean perhaps is that we're not worthy of being loved, or we're not worthy of being supported. And that is us abandoning ourselves in a sense. I'll turn it on me. That is me abandoning myself in that moment. I am denying myself love in that moment, right? So somebody denied me love, but I made it mean that I am not worthy. I didn't make it mean something about them, which it is. I made it mean something about me. And in that moment, I abandoned myself. So I thought this was really cool and something I hadn't really realized when I wrote the song. The person singing, so me, but if you were singing it, if you were singing along, you would be singing it to your inner child. You are never alone. You are loved and always home. I am here with you. And it's such a comforting song. This is one of my favorites that we did. It's hard to pick, but it's definitely one of my favorite messages, because I think so many people need to hear this, that we can't wait for people to come around all the time. We can't be waiting around for the apology. We can, but people are not likely to change for us. And it's a lot more empowering and it's a lot more practical to realize that we can give ourselves support in that moment, that we can soothe our inner child, that we can give ourselves a little slack and compassion and realize that we're doing the best that we can. And so I think it's a really empowering message to send to yourself, that you are tending to yourself. I hope you enjoy this conversation, and I hope you enjoy the song, which I'll play at the end. And here is Nina and Edie. All right, here we go.
So what I love when I witness people, I teach circles working with the cards, is that there is no wrong way to interpret any of these cards. I recently had a woman in a circle look at the journey card, and to her, there was a cross. And I don't know where she saw it, if it was in the shadow or in the mandala, which is at the top. But for her, it created this whole new perspective and this whole deep meaning around her faith and her spirituality. She's Christian. And I thought it was so beautiful how each person, we bring our background and we bring through our lens, and we see what is going to nourish us in that moment. It might change in another moment. So
yeah. Which brings us to this card, which is a really interesting one to me, because the child in it, so it's the abandonment one, and it's was the inspiration for the song that came out today, Never Alone. And I actually saw, so I'm seeing now that it's a teddy bear wrapped. I mean, I saw this before too, but it's a teddy bear wrapped in a blanket. But I did sort of see like a child's ponytail at one point, or like, yeah, because it's very small, right? And then there's these like cute little mushrooms. Edie, what was the symbolism for you of the bear, or like what were you saying with the bear?
This painting was originally a commissioned piece. So it was someone reached out and said they had been in the redwoods in a couple, two men, and one of them had an old like little bear, like a childhood kind of, and they had been camping there or like traveling, and he lost it. He lost the little. And so his partner, which is so sweet, like if you think about it, like it makes me like go, oh my gosh, like he had like commissioned me because this guy really likes my work. So he thought, I'm gonna offer you, we can never get this little bear back because it was just had been a while and it was gone. But I'm gonna commission Edie to do a painting of it in a kind of like, warm, big and sort of lost, but somehow also safe space in the woods on its own. And that's what it came about. So it's a very different story than the other paintings origins. And sometimes those, the commission pieces are very interesting as well, because they bring, someone else's story and energy and whatever it is that spurs the painting on. And then afterwards, obviously, like a lot of other people have resonated with it. And like we say about each card, like you read your own thing in it. And so the abandonment theme was obviously perfect for it. And you can feel that in it. So I think it's for me, a very clear and simple kind of matching. And
Oh, wow. That's a great story. That's really amazing. Was it a surprise? Did the guy know?
I feel like it was, but I can't. This is a while ago, and I feel like it was a gift for him. So it was like a very special, and I'm sure he didn't. The person who had lost the teddy bear I never connected with through the partner. So I'm pretty sure prize for a special or a birthday or something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So like so much comes to mind for me with that, because the bear was abandoned, but not just the bear, because the bear represented something obviously from the guy's, I'm guessing, obviously from the guy's childhood. I hope, I don't know, or maybe something more recent, but
no, it was an old thing of a childhood.
Yeah. Okay. So it was sort of like an abandonment of an inner child, or like an abandonment of a part of himself, right? It's this.
Yeah. Which wasn't done. This is what I find beautiful about it as well, is like that wasn't done on purpose. Like, I'm going to abandon you there now, like I'm you alone, like, which I think happens with our inner child things as well. Like, it's not like we angrily like throw it away or something. It's more that we abandon it because it's too much, or like it's not this kind of like active aggressive element. It's more like we lose it and then it just sort of slips away, and maybe there's different energies and ways in which these things happen. But I imagine, or for in myself too, I feel like the abandonment of this sort of inner child's parts, and it's sometimes just very like how do you say that, like just kind of happens, like there's no intention around it. Or as we grow into young adults, like we're not always aware of that stuff.
Nina, you don't have to wait for me to call on you. I know you have something to say about this.
No, it's very, very deep, Edie. I love how you're talking about this. I feel, because that's exactly what this card to me is. It's just such a beautiful card, because it's exactly that energy of like, this bear is obviously loved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has it's not, the blanket isn't thrown, the bear isn't upside down. Like, it's almost like the bear was laid there very lovingly.
Yeah.
And there's beautiful light, there's softness, and there actually is a sense of safety in this card, right? And I completely feel that in my body, like as she was talking about that, like we don't intentionally leave these parts of us behind. We don't know better. We don't have the tools, right? And they somehow get forgotten, or even maybe we long for them, right? Like the person missing this bear, but maybe they don't know the path back, right? Like this man, I'm sure, tried to look for the bear, but sometimes you can't, there's no trail, right? So this is why we created this deck, in essence. I think this card is such an important card in the deck. It's all about that, is like, how do we find the path back to all the parts of us, all these wounds, in very gently and lovingly, kind of like pick them back up and hold them, and offer ourselves that safety. And your song is just like amazing. It just so beautifully evokes this journey, this process of offering yourself that safety now, and telling your inner child, like, you are wanted, you matter, and I'll never leave you alone, right? They can't get lost with you now, they can always be with you. So there's beautiful hope in that as well.
Yeah. When I told my dad about the deck, I drew a card for him, and this was the card that he got. And he's adopted, and his grandfather was also adopted. And I know that resonated really deeply with him, this card. And I think in kind of reading your script on it and looking at the card, I realized just how much that's affected me in my life because of how he felt about himself. It's a really powerful card. Really, really powerful. Yeah. The song is interesting too, because somebody just requested, I've been doing these like little affirmative like songs for people. So they'll tell me like what they're working on, and I'll be like, I'll it'll come to me. Okay, this is your mantra. But somebody asked me to write a song from the perspective of a mother. So it was a little bit off topic, but I thought it was a really sweet request. The song from the perspective of a mother singing to their child to reassure them of how much they love them. And I was like, oh, well, that could be this song too, actually, because it's not specific to your inner child, but that was the intention of it. But it could be to anybody, it could.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the process is like, right? Not that our mothers didn't do good or they didn't do their best. They did, most of them, of course, like unless your parents were intentionally abusive,
which was their best anyway.
Exactly. Right.
Wasn't great, but it was their best.
Based on their own like intense childhood, and they were most probably abused. Like, I have yet to find an abusive parent who wasn't themselves, traumatized and abused. But this is exactly what the process is. It's like your own, however you want to call it, like mothering energy, divine feminine, divine masculine. You are singing, holding, affirming, consoling, comforting a part of you, whether it's an inner child part or a teenage part or you 5 years ago, it doesn't matter, right? The process is the same. Yeah,
absolutely. Did y'all have anything else you wanted to say about the topic or the card? The moon is interesting to me. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll ask Edie about the moon.
Just quickly about, it's not just being abandoned by others, but also there are ways in which we abandon ourselves, right? Even right now in our adult lives. And so trying to be compassionate around that. It's like in our survival reactivity, like when do we go to numb or fight or freeze or try to appease, right? Like this card is also an invitation, if you're pulling it, to look at that, where am I abandoning myself and not honoring my own needs, my own desires.
Yeah, that's a big one, big that's really powerful, because I think that happens on the micro level so many times throughout the day, all the time. So it's like something, a theme that, that you can link into and sort of, hone into every day, like all the time. I love that you just added that, Nina, because that's like, it's what do we abandon, right? Like, or what do we like turn away from when we put our phones or take another piece of cake or whatever it is that your thing is, like it's like, we're turning away from ourselves and the presence and our connection to source. So that's something that we abandon all the time.
Yeah.
Not that we can't consciously eat a piece of cake and love it and enjoy it and connect to source at the same time, but I'm kind of using it in that way. Or do something on our phone, I'm not like all these things are bad or anything like that. It's more that I think we know what we're talking about, but like, it's that the flight thing, like, which is an event.
Yeah.
The last card we talked about was alchemy too, which had to do with where you were placing your attention. So that's an interesting progression that we chose. Well, this one comes before that actually in the deck. So just really quickly, the moon is really cool. Is that a crescent?
It's a crescent, yeah.
Crescent moon. Okay. So, and was that picked because you visually liked it, or did it have some significance to you, or
That would have just been a visual. I actually start most paintings by painting a moon or a sun. Like now, like a lot of them start with that motion of circle. And someone told me once, or asked me, like, I remember in one of the markets, like somebody was like, do you paint clockwise or counterclockwise when you make because it supposedly says something about, and now I wish I remembered what it said, but something about interesting about the creative process or the intent. And I remember though thinking about it and go, actually, for me, I do both. In that first, I start painting, and it's like very consciously, I go both ways with it. And I think that the moon in this painting was just part of like, okay, I know I want that energy in it, but the nighttime, the moon, the soft light, but there was I feel like that was an intuitive process that I can't really answer more specifically, like it was just kind of this is what it needs to be.
Because it seems like a little, like a cocooned moon, like self-soothing moon.
Oh, they have no deeper.
I think that's what's interesting, because you do things that are intuitive, and that may have been the origination of it, or it may not have been, but you express a different way, so it's not
like when melody also, I feel like it's not always, you don't really know why that melody, but that's what the flow of the moment is. And so there's not, and then afterwards you can obviously kind of, it does this and it does that, and then like, pluck it apart or analyze it. But the creation of it was just sort of like, boop, this is it's so quick sometimes.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you guys, and we'll play Never Alone after this so that y'all can hear it, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye. I am here with you, always with you, always with you, my child. I love all of you.
for tuning into the podcast, y'all. Please like, subscribe, rate, comment, whatever the platform you listen to podcasts on offers you as a way to let its algorithm know that you're enjoying these episodes. That really helps. Also, there's some links in the podcast description notes that allow you to support the podcast in a way that benefits you and us. So please check those out. And if you'd like to stay in touch with me, you can sign up for my mailing list at portersinger.com. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.